Welcome back to the Pick 199 podcast, episode 67. I'm here with Muzzy.
Hey.
Foxy.
Hey, boys.
And Big Puppy's back. This week we're talking about the EPL and the latest results from game week 12 or 13?
It's match week 16, I believe.
That's the one. That's what I meant.
I think
2
so.
plus 3 is 6.
Yeah.
No, it's not. 2 times 3 is 6. Fuck me. Let's start with Brentford and Watford. Brentford getting the 2-1 win over Watford. Good win for Brentford, keeping them out of the relegation zone. And another loss for Watford to push them down again after they had a couple of sort of weeks.
Much better second half for Brentford. It's good to see them back out there. That first half was poor. I thought Watford were going to put a lot more than 1 goal on them. Watford just looked the goods, and then literally the second half, I don't know what the coach did at the second half, but never do that again. Because they just looked out of all sorts, and the Brentford coach definitely needs to be praised. It was absolute masterstroke. Made some really key substitutions just before both goals. So really, really important. And those players were really good at stabilising the team. So
absolutely.
Really good result.
Moving on, we had Manchester City getting the 1-0 win over Wolverhampton. There's a bit of feistiness in this match, Muzzy.
Oh, I'm absolutely baffled by that Jimenez red card.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, what's he doing? Like he had a full-on Xhaka.
He just had an absolute brain snap, and he's just gone, I'm just going to kick the ball away. And well, first he had that incident where he kicked out, which he shouldn't have done, and then he pulled at the player, and then they went up for a free kick, and he just stood in front of the ball.
Didn't give the spacing. I was like,
no, and he didn't. And I thought Rodri kicked it early, but then on the replay they showed that he actually waited for the whistle and then kicked it.
Yeah.
And he was still standing in front and actually went for the ball. And I was just like, what is he doing?
Yeah, it was like, it was insane. I couldn't make anything out of it. I was just like, what?
Yeah, in the rules, he could have even just kicked the ball. Like, even if Raul didn't play at it, he could have kicked the ball straight at Raul and it would have been another free kick.
Yeah, it would have been it wouldn't have been a yellow card though, I don't think. But the issue was he played at it.
Yeah.
Which I think was the biggest thing. Like he went for the block.
Unbelievable. But like the thing is, he lashed it. Like they didn't even kick it near him. They kicked it away from him. And he still lashes out to get it. Like
because I don't think Rodri's that type of player. So he was trying to kick the ball away from him and just trying to like settle the situation. And he just jumped straight at it. Like it was absolutely bizarre. Like to do that, and it was like the 4th minute of added on time before the end of the half. It was bananas. And then like Wolverhampton, like obviously so, you're a striker down. They just went into full defensive mode. And they were unlucky not to come away with the draw. They played really well. It was just an unlucky pen that ended up in the end. Another silly challenge from behind and ended up giving away an easy pen. So.
Yeah, no, that was a bizarre game, but I mean, I'm sure you'll take the win out of it though too.
Yep.
Moving on, Arsenal continue their changing of attitude and getting a 3-0 win over Southampton.
3-0 does not do this game justice. Arsenal should have won that game 6-7-0.
Yeah,
they were. This is the most dominant we've seen Arsenal in years, and I'm thinking like Arsene Wenger days, like and not like towards the end of his days, like midway through his career, like they were just absolutely dominant. Gabriel had a goal disallowed, which I don't think it should have been. If it was off a header. So I think he technically scored twice in this game from a centre back, which is amazing. Like his aerial ability is great, but the midfield just seemed to absolutely dominate Southampton. And Arsenal really looked the goods. They really looked to turn it back on. And I think if they can keep this team together in a couple of years, I think there's definitely titles in their future.
Well, that young core that they've got with like Smith Rowe and Saka and even Odegaard as well, like that's really starting to like click into gear now. So
Yeah.
it's good in a way to see Arsenal back in terms of competitiveness, but yeah, it's really interesting to see that switch. Like considering like 2-3 weeks in, Arsenal fans were calling for Arteta's head.
Yeah.
They're always calling for someone's head, but they're Arsenal fans.
Yeah. Well, that's it. But you know what I mean, though. Like, Arsenal stuck with Arteta like throughout this difficult period, and now we're starting to see the fruits of that.
Yeah.
Like the team's finally starting to click with him, so it's interesting to see.
Very much so.
Very good win for Arsenal, and we'll move on. We had Chelsea getting the 3-2 win over Leeds United. Tell you what, boys, none of these boys are going to be getting a fighting contract at the end of their careers because
penalties galore this weekend.
Oh man!
Just like in the City game, there was a couple of other games. There was a couple of penalty shouts. A couple of games. I think Aston Villa were hard done by not to get a penalty against Liverpool. Lot of penalties this weekend, and I mean this game epitomised it. Like some of the calls we had, Chelsea getting penalties that were probably deserved, and then Leeds on the other end that penalty that looked more like penalties that weren't getting called. Like it was absolutely bizarre game.
Well, and that's what saved us a couple of weeks ago when we got that draw. Who was it against? I can't remember now. But it kept us in the game essentially to get the 1-1 draw out of it, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know. Like there's something going on at Chelsea in a minute, and it's like this past month we just haven't been. It's like we've been sleeping at the wheel, sort of thing. Like it's I don't know. Like it's kind of confusing when you're so dominant throughout the start of the year, and then you just go into this lull period for a team like that that should be consistent week in, week out. But I mean, I'll take the win however we can get it. But yeah, there's a lot of work that we need to do to fix that up. Very good. Moving on. Liverpool getting the 1-0 win over Aston Villa.
Tell you what, it's lovely to wake up at 2 a.m. knowing you're going to get a win. I'm very happy with that. Really good game. I actually thought it was a great game. Aston Villa obviously went super defensive. I thought, is it Mings? He gave the penalty away that allowed Salah to score the goal. Super unlucky because he defended the house down all game because he defended that edge with Mo. He did a cracking job, and I was watching it going, God, he's playing well. That was when he gave away the penalty.
Yeah.
They gave him a rap on the commentary too. They're like, "Oh, he's killing it! Bang, penalty, thanks."
Commentators curse, love it.
Yeah, so he was a bit unlucky there, but no, it was a really good game. It's good to see Aston Villa's structures and see what Liverpool will look like in a few years when Stevie G jumps over to us. So, happy with how both teams performed.
You're 1 and 2 team.
The number 1 and 2.
Oh, you're a filthy bastard.
Like I said, Aston Villa were pretty unlucky not to get there, and even with Mings giving away the penalty, I still think it was a penalty. Salah definitely had right away, and Mings definitely impeded him. But at the same time, they were very unlucky not to sneak one away at the end, and it was looking like they were going to salvage a draw. But yeah, Liverpool ended up just showing that little bit of class towards the end.
And Liverpool did apply so much pressure the entire game. It was, I think, more of a credit to Aston Villa that it didn't blow out because Liverpool
that's the thing. It's like
apply a lot of pressure.
We've seen probably not high quality teams, but teams that should be more competitive break down very quickly because of that.
Yeah.
Like, I think probably prime example would have been Manchester United when they got pumped by Liverpool like 5-0 or whatever it was.
Yeah, exactly.
No, very good. Good signs for Aston Villa. Good win for Liverpool.
Great signs for Liverpool.
Yeah. Moving on. Coxie D. Manchester United getting the
1-0 win from Pinaldo.
You know, how good is it to see the problem at Manchester United be the winner again? Is that the fourth time this year that he's pulled you out of the fire pit?
I think it's one more than 4. In the Champions League, it's probably about 10.
I was about to say, Jamie Carragher's earning his dollars saying that Ronaldo's the reason that they're shit this year.
Mate, he's a bloody Liverpool player, mate. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Mate, it's coming from a bloke that never won the Prem, so...
Yeah, well, that's it, mate. He's got no experience. I don't know what he's talking about.
Well, considering his own favourite teammate and favourite player, Stevie G, hates him, I think it's a bit of a sign of how good he is.
What a bloke he is, yeah. No, it's good. Like, I know it was only 1-0, but it's just good to see some, consistent results come in for the boys, especially when consistency was lacking under Ollie. You go from a win to a draw to a loss, then lose a couple more. Like, we're consistent in losing, but we're just putting some wins together.
Do you think Ralph Rangnick just sort of holding them all accountable has sort of changed the attitude at the club at the minute?
Yeah, I think that, but I also think the fact that these lineups and the players he's putting in the lineups are a lot different to what Ollie was sticking with week in, week out. So, you look at Luke Shaw, who, he was, always on the team sheet no matter what he did. Fred was always on the team sheet despite having terrible performances. And now, he's picking completely different players in these spots, and it seems to be working so far. He's even subbing, Bruno Fernandes when Ollie, I couldn't see Ollie doing that at all. And I don't know, if he's doing that because he's not happy with some of the things he sees sometimes from Bruno. But I think that's what he's got to do. He's got to sub these players, hold them accountable, as you said, Roscoe, and just make them feel like, they've got to perform just because they're, they've got that reputation or that name. They've still got to perform for the club. So I think it's just sort of instilling that whole mentality that nobody's bigger than the club.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, look, it's hopefully we get some long-term success out of this. But it's a bit hard when they only name him for 6 months and then he's only got half the season to sort of set things up. I feel like if he's been given the backing and everybody knew he had the rest of this season and, all of next season, it'd be a little bit different. But I think he's done well for what he's done when he's come in. So, we'll take it.
Absolutely. Follow-up question. Are you starting Fred for the rest of the year?
Mate, I'll tell you what, I reckon Ollie knew Fred could play like this and he just wouldn't play like that for Ollie. And now, Ralphie's reaping the rewards. But no, it's good. As I was saying earlier, these players that didn't normally get a sniff in with Ollie, Donny van der Beek, he's been playing, he's gotten that, I reckon since, Ollie's left and the time that Ralph's been there, I reckon he's had more game time than he had since he turned up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's good to see that.
I was about to say, he probably did that in the first game that he had.
Yeah. And and I know it's off topic, we're not talking about Champions League, but that match we had against the young boys last week, it was, I know, we got I think it was a 1-1 draw or something. But it was good to see that Ralph sort of put the faith in the young crop of players and played them instead of playing the big, all the stars.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully it's a sign that we're sort of turning the wheel a bit and getting back to how we used to be.
Quick question, Coxie. A lot of criticism about Jadon Sancho, obviously, coming over, and he sort of had a bit of a slow start. What sort of effect do you think Rafi can have on Jadon Sancho? Obviously, he was manager at RB Leipzig, knows what the Bundesliga is like. Do you think it will have a bit of an impact on how Jadon Sancho plays and if he plays him?
Yeah, I think it's going to impact him significantly. I think we will actually get some benefit out of this. Obviously Ralph understands the way the Bundesliga was played, and I think he can sort of implement some tactics or whatnot to sort of, that was similar to the Bundesliga, how maybe Borussia Dortmund played. Because he's a great player, and you see little glimpses of what he used to be like at Borussia, where he's taken players on and he's cutting into the box and doing those things. I felt like when he first turned up, he was a bit afraid to do that kind of thing. And they always say, that the Premier League, it's the most physically demanding league out of all of them, and the defenders are that much stronger and better. So I don't know. I think it's just going to take him a little while to adjust, and hopefully Ralph can sort of get the best out of him, because you want to see him at that Borussia Dortmund form.
Yeah.
So, but good question, Muzz. I think Ralph will be able to get the best out of him, though. Yeah.
Very good. Well, moving on, we had West Ham United getting a 0-0 draw with Burnley, which is probably really disappointing with them based on the win that they had against Chelsea last week. Not good enough from them to continue that string of form that they're in at the minute. So disappointing to get the 0-0 draw there.
If you're going to knock over teams like Chelsea and Liverpool, you need to sort of beat Burnley. So that's the difference between the top three and the next little step down, I think. So
not very good. Moving on, we had Leicester City getting a 4-0 win over Newcastle United. Good win for Leicester. I'm not sure where that puts them. I think they're sitting about 7th at the minute.
I think it just creeps them back into the 10. So I think because we had the week off, but that last week they had a pretty important game, and I think the week that we looked at it, they were just outside the 10, and I think it puts them just back in, but still not good enough. But they looked a lot better in this game. I mean, it was against Newcastle, only Newcastle, but it's disappointment city for Newcastle. I don't know.
They really need to pull their finger out.
I don't think they will, though. I think they're going to struggle unless
I think if they go down, they'll probably get sold. Yeah. Or it's just not going to be enough, or they're not going to invest enough in them. And I don't know.
Yeah.
It's terrible times.
See the outcome of that.
What's that?
So it'll be interesting, the outcome of that, whether or not the PIF continues to, whether or not they keep them or sell them off again.
They might keep them, but I think they're just not going to invest any money in them. They're just going to look at it as a business and just try and keep it on the up.
Do what Mike Ashley did.
Yeah, so
that'd be a shame. After all the problems they had. Final game of the round, we had Crystal Palace getting a 3-1 win over Everton. Everton's still sort of struggling. They got the win last week, but not good enough in the end. And Crystal Palace can continue just to play Vieira football, and it's
said at the start of the year, and I'll say it again. If you want to get behind a team now, they're the team to get behind. They've been absolutely brilliant, and beating some of these teams that often beat the top end teams like Everton, West Ham, Leicester. Beating some of these teams, drawing with some of the top teams, super competitive. Love the way that they play football. They play really attacking, really entertaining football to watch. And as Roscoe being a Chelsea supporter, he's going to love how Gallagher's playing. How long until he gets a return loan to Chelsea?
Oh, who knows? Probably 4 years, and then we'll sell him off to Liverpool.
It's Liverpool Junior, so.
Well, on the back of that, I'm going to ask you the same question that Coxie asked in the NFL segment. If you had to change teams now, who would you go for? So let's just cancel out the top three as well. So you have to pick a new team.
Yeah, we all knew that was coming. I'm like I said, I'm a big proponent for what Crystal Palace are doing and where they're heading. I think they're definitely heading in the right foot. Whether that continues on to the following year is something that I would be worried about if I was a new fan. But I think the likes of like West Ham can't be understated. I mean, it'd be a great team to support. Supporting West Ham, I think, or Leeds.
Yeah.
Any team that's sort of got that attacking football. I think, especially as someone starting out to watch football, it's important that you're watching teams that play that attacking type style.
Something that'll keep you invested.
So you're not watching Atletico Madrid every week.
Yeah.
It's really, like, I know they're a great team, and they have been for years, and they're a superstar team. But it's really tough to watch unless you understand football.
Yeah.
You've got to be a purist.
Yeah. So I think, Leeds or West Ham. I'll probably go West Ham this season because I think they have the they've got the ability to continue it on for the next couple of years. I'm just unsure about Vieira's future, and Crystal Palace's future is the only thing.
I was going to say the same, but West Ham, like another London-based team, but also still like just got. I think I like the way their fans hold themselves as well, like just real sort of working class community, and so West Ham for me as well. Coxie?
Yeah, I'd probably go West Ham too. I mean, I liked how Everton started the year, but I don't think they're gonna. If we're thinking long-term success as well, I don't think they're going to be able to do much.
Hold it on,
West Ham. I mean, West Ham keeping Declan Rice as well. I mean, that's huge for them and all
that'll
those
be
other
huge
pieces
until Chelsea buys him in 2 years for 180 million. No, very good. Well, that just about wraps up the EPL for this week. Thanks for listening. Like and subscribe. Comment your thoughts below, and we'll catch up with you next time.
See ya.